everyone, and welcome to this week's video. Today we're going to talk about integrations. Integrations are not all created equal, and it's important to understand what an integration is and how it works so that when you are selecting different tools to add to your tech stack, that you can make sure they work together as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Today we are going to cover 3 different integration types. I'll give you some examples of those integrations and some of the pros and cons of using each one of these integration types. I'll try to keep it as non-technical as possible so that you can easily understand and pick and choose your tools accordingly. Let's get started. The first type of integration that we're going to talk about is a third-party tool integration. A third-party tool integration creates a bridge between 2 different platforms. One of my favorite third-party tool integrations to create would be using Acuity Scheduling to talk to ActiveCampaign. In order for this information to pass, you need that third-party tool of either Zapier or PieSync. And with this third-party tool, you actually log into the tool itself and you set up a connection so that when a certain action happens in system number 1, such as Acuity Scheduling, that an action is then, or a data is then pushed into the other tool, such as ActiveCampaign. This allows you to create an integration when there wouldn't really be any other options to have the tools talk to each other. Now, Zapier is a great tool to do this with, and it's free for the very basic features. You may need to upgrade if you want to get into multi-step integrations. PieSync is also another tool that does this really well, and PieSync can actually push data in both directions. Third-party integrations, while they are useful and they help you connect tools that wouldn't otherwise be able to be connected, they really aren't my favorite. They tend to have a lot of issues. Zapier is generally easy to set up, but it does have its fair share of outages, and when that happens, your data is not pushed. So in the case of there being an outage in Zapier, you could have new appointment information going into ActiveCampaign and you don't get that information pushed, which can cause other issues within your marketing automation. This is why I prefer to have integrations that are either API-based or deep data. So let's jump into those next. An API integration is probably the most common type of integrations for most platforms, as long as your platforms allow each other to speak within the API. An API is a piece of coding. It's sort of action-based. It looks for triggers, and when it sees certain triggers, it pushes data. So it's similar to the bridge of the third-party tool, except it's not using a third party. It is directly linking one system to the other without needing that tool in between. In order to set up an API, you have to, number 1, make sure that your 2 tools can be connected by API, and then you have to get a super secret piece of code, or what it's called is a secret key, and you have to plug that into the tools that you are integrating. So for example, if you are integrating ThriveCart, which is a checkout tool with your CRM such as ActiveCampaign, you would actually input the ActiveCampaign secret code into ThriveCart, and then anytime a transaction happens in ThriveCart, it'll push the data to the specified fields in ActiveCampaign. This sounds really complicated, but an API integration is actually the easiest type of integration to set up, and I also find that it tends to be one of the more reliable methods. With an API integration, you can push basic data from one system to another, and it's very easy and simple to use. So let's get into the third type of integration, which is a deep data integration. A deep data integration is similar to an API integration, except it kind of comes at a whole new level. Deep data integration does exactly what it says. It dives deeper into the data, allowing you to have even more custom information pushed from one tool to another. It's much more in depth and it has so much more capability. A few of my favorite examples of deep data integrations are ActiveCampaign and Spiffy Checkout. A few examples of my favorite deep data integrations are ActiveCampaign and Spiffy Checkout, as well as ActiveCampaign and Calendly. Within ActiveCampaign, you can actually see very specific data, for example, with Calendly, appointment types, times, things like that, just much more than you can get with the standard API. With the Spiffy Checkout deep data integration, or also Shopify is another deep data integration with ActiveCampaign, you can see detailed sales information on each contact directly in ActiveCampaign. The only other way that you would be able to get this information is to log directly into the checkout or e-commerce tool directly. Because of the level of depth and data that you can get with a deep data integration, you can use this to trigger all sorts of automations and segment your audience, which is really handy to have. Without the deep data e-commerce connection, you just would not be able to segment your audience in this way, and therefore your communications would not be as clear and concise. I hope that you found this video helpful on further understanding integrations and how you can use them with your systems. I would love to know, what integrations are you currently using in your tech stack and how are they working? Let me know in the comments below. Have a great day.